What's up, guys? This is Casey, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be discussing the top IT tech companies throughout the world. We're going to be reviewing exactly how they're making so much money in terms of how we break down their business model, and then we're going to be comparing their revenue to all of the world countries and showing you guys exactly just how large these companies are. So let's just kind of hop right into this. So in terms of the entire size, to give you guys a quick high level, all of the top tech companies combined generated about $899 billion in revenue. So let's just say 900 billion. That is good enough for number 17 in terms of the countries, I should say the world's countries' GDP. 17. That's the equivalent of Netherlands. That's insane. And at the top of the list is the behemoth Amazon. Now, to give you guys a quick high level, as you can already tell, as you probably can allude to, the top tech companies are Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, Apple, and Alphabet. Now, you guys are probably wondering, well, where's Google? Well, if you don't already know, what I'm sure you do, Alphabet actually owns Google. So they are the top parent company. Now, what's interesting about this list is that if you guys notice, if you take a look at actual Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, and Amazon, you will see that you see advertisements, you see commercials, but you don't really see anything for Alphabet. They're kind of behind the scenes. And that's just basically how their business model is set up and how they're aligned. But if we take a look at their actual revenues, you'll notice that Amazon is number one. Amazon tops the chart at $281 billion. Now, if we break down exactly what their revenue streams look like, you will see that 54.4% of that is Amazon.com. Surprise, surprise. Well, with Amazon, you guys know that they generate their money from basically getting profits from margins from when people sell on their platform. In addition to that, it's basically, they have their Amazon.com products, and the manufacturers give them a cut as well in order to have their products on the Amazon.com platform. So all of that combined is 50.4% of their actual products. That's insane. One of the things you guys also probably aren't aware of is that their third-party seller services is a pretty good chunk as well. That's basically the commissions, that's the shipping fees. It's basically anything having to do with the third-party vendors or individual sellers that want to sell on their platform. They have to pay Amazon a fee in order to do that, and that is a big money maker for Amazon. And then if you take a look as well, when we round out the chart, you'll notice that AWS is a big part of Amazon's revenue now. If you guys are not familiar, AWS is Amazon Web Services. This is a solution that basically allows companies to host their servers and their services in the cloud on Amazon servers. This is a huge revenue for Amazon, and it's been growing consistently over the years. And they kind of take a look here as well. They have physical stores, they have subscription services, and other. But all of that combined, $281 billion. If you guys take a look over here by the revenue by region, you'll notice that the U.S. is majority of the revenue, 69%. So let's just say 70. And then, the UK and Germany and Japan are all close second, third, and fourth. So big company, lots of money, lots of revenue. Let's take a look at the next company on the list, Apple. You guys have probably never heard of this company. I highly doubt that. Said no one, right? So Apple has $260 billion in revenue last year. And if we take a look at this, by and far, their top revenue generator is still iPhone. Now, the thing with Apple is that they announced last year that they were going to stop announcing the iPhone sales. And the reason they were doing that is because they're trying to shift to a service-based business, and they really want people to not judge them based on the number of iPhone sales, because they think that they've hit market saturation. And so although this is kind of what's really put them on the map over the years, for over a decade now, they are now switching to service-based platforms. And so they're removing that. But still, getting, it's over half of their revenue. And then rounding that out as well, after the iPhone, we have basically the services, their Apple Pay, their Apple Music, their Apple Television. So not only do they have a good chunk of the physical hardware business, which we know they make their own, but they also get into the digital services business as well. And of course, you guys know about the Macs, the iPads, and the headphones and whatnot, which makes me wonder, the Apple iPhones, what are they, $200? And it's like man, how much does it cost to make these things? I did read a statistics the other day that said that of all of the phones that are on the market, and this is for all manufacturers, Apple has the highest margins of any phone manufacturer. And so that basically means that it costs them the least amount of money to make their phones, and they charge the most. I can't say that I agree with that. I disagree with that because their phones are expensive. And rounding out the third one is Alphabet. Now, Alphabet is an interesting company because, like I mentioned, you don't really see advertisements for this company. These guys are kind of behind the scenes. You don't really see logos. You don't really see anything for the most part. But what you do see is you see the companies that they own, and they own the big boys. So Google, YouTube, you have the Apple Play Store, you have Gmail, you have Google Maps. Now, what you guys will notice with Alphabet is that, yes, they have $162 billion in revenue last year. And a huge, huge chunk of their revenue was advertisement, 70% to be exact. And the reason that is because basically a lot of companies will pay Alphabet to advertise on their platforms. YouTube is just everything. It's all advertisements, right? Google Maps, they use advertisements because they will use your tracking from when you're driving. You ever get a pop-up notification for, hey, you're next to a store or something like that. Google is being paid to list that. You have your Gmail. I've had a Gmail account for over 20 years. Gmail, it's a free platform, which means we are the product. And so they do take our emails, they will scan them, they will look for behaviors, and then they will market to us based on what they see in our emails. A little scary, but that is what they do. Then of course, just the whole Google platform in general, and then you have the App Store, right? Because there's advertisements and whatnot in the App Store. Alphabet makes a killing. And then if you break down also, lo and behold, what do we have here? Google Ads, more advertising, but in a different kind of way. If you guys have a website or a company, if you want to promote something, you can go to Google Ads through Google, and you can promote your business or whatever your product. And this is a very, very big advertising method that companies use when they want to market their items. It's actually the biggest one, I believe, when it comes to the internet, next to Facebook, of course. And then you have your Google Nest, you have your services and products, you have the Google Music and whatnot, and then of course you have over here as well the Google Cloud. Now, Google Cloud is very similar to the AWS solutions. This is Google's competition to Amazon. So they are getting into the business with this, into the cloud services. But of all the companies right now, they are the smallest in terms of the cloud services. But far in between, it's all advertising for Alphabet. Now, the next one that we have here is Microsoft. They're at $126 billion. Now, you guys may be thinking, okay, well, I'm sure most of their revenue is generated to Microsoft Windows, right? Good guess, you would be wrong. Microsoft has transitioned to a service-based business. Well, they really have always been a service-based business, but they transitioned from not just being OS. They've now, so much so to where they now are half of their businesses from Microsoft Azure and Office. And you probably wonder, well, what is Azure? Azure is the competitor to Google Cloud and also to AWS for Amazon. You guys seeing a pattern here that all of the tech companies are all getting into the cloud-based business. Now, as of right now, Microsoft Azure is probably the number one in the industry in terms of cloud-based solutions, with AWS being a close second. But you can tell here Azure is a huge, huge part of their business model. And, also Office. So if you guys remember back in the day when you used to have to buy a physical CD copy of Office, and every year have to renew it for like $160 a month or something like that to get the new version, well, that's no more. Microsoft now has transitioned to this Office 365 solution that they've had for years, to where now it's a subscription-based business. So this is subscription and services, and it's huge. And then you have the Windows, of course, that we all know and love. Wink, wink, right? We all love Windows. And then once you round off that, you'll notice that they've also ventured into other businesses. We all know about their beloved Xbox and their online streaming service. We know about their Bing search advertisements. So if you take a look here, right? So whereas Google, what do we have here? Whereas Alphabet has 70% advertisement, right? There's Microsoft's is more along the lines of just 6%, but it's getting there. Enterprise services, not entirely sure what enterprise services are. I don't know if these are just like backend services that are separate from Microsoft Azure, or if these are professional services. I'm not entirely sure what this is, but it clearly is an important part of their business. And then we all know that the service devices. This is interesting because, I wouldn't think that the actual Microsoft services were such a large part of, I should say 5%, well, isn't small, but it's not exactly large either. But I wouldn't think that this should be a 5% because I just see them as kind of like an afterthought, but it appears to be a significant part of their business. Now, something also I didn't know is that, LinkedIn, if you guys are, if you have any professional services, or if you have a, professional resume account, if you will, that they own, Microsoft owns LinkedIn. So this probably also kind of goes into the advertisement revenue business, if you will, and that's where they make their money. And then a little bit of other here, and who knows what that is. But again, do you guys notice? Huge. Now the next one, Facebook, the beloved Facebook, right? Everyone loves Facebook. Now, although they've been kind of, marred a little bit with a lot of scandals and issues with a data protection and privacy, Facebook is the largest player in the game when it comes to social media and when it comes to marketing and keeping in contact with your family and friends. They are huge. Now, what's really different about Facebook is that you guys will notice 98, basically their entire revenue is all from advertisements. Now, this is great and it's not so great. If you guys look on the facebook.com, you'll notice that there's advertisements everywhere. You'll also notice that a lot of the recommendations that you get are based on the ads. You'll notice that if you go to the Facebook Marketplace, right, it's also advertisements as well. So just huge parts. Their entire business model is advertisements. Now, Facebook did say that they are trying to transition away from this because of the, I don't want to say scandals, but because of the issues that have come to light over the years through the privacy, the data protection and privacy concerns that people have had. That Facebook is trying to transition away from being so advertisement based because they are concerned that one or two major issues may just basically have their top 5 or 10 advertisers pull out, and then basically Facebook is no more. And so they are starting to invest very heavily into the metaverse. If you guys haven't learned, over the past few months, Facebook actually changed their name from Facebook to Meta. Interesting. And I think that's their way of saying that they are going to really try to focus and put a lot of investments into the metaverse so that they can kind of get ahead of the game because they basically want to own the metaverse. I will be making a video about that sometime to discuss the metaverse, exactly what that is. But for right now, it's all ads for Facebook and tons of it. Guys, that's pretty much it. So if you guys take a look at this, it's just insane what they're generating. Now, if we go over and we take a look at the actual GDP in terms of just how big this, put this into comparison, with all these tech giants, let's take a look at Apple. Apple, their market cap compared to country GDPs, and the white is all countries that have less GDP than Apple. Basically, there aren't that many. Just really aren't that many. There's the U.S., heck, even Russia has less GDP than Apple's market cap. Apple right now is actually not 2.1 trillion. I think they're like 2.5 trillion. They are on pace to be the first $3 trillion market cap company in the world. I mean, it's just insane. I mean, look at these countries: Italy, Brazil, Canada, Russia. I mean, it's insane. Just how big they are. Take a look at Microsoft. Very similar behavior. You take a look, the countries that are bigger than them, just only a handful. Now there are like, God, don't quote me, but I think there's like 170, 180 countries, somewhere around there. And these companies are larger than entire states, right? And when I mean state, I don't mean United States, I mean country states. Yeah, I mean, it's just bananas just how big these countries are. I mean, these companies are. They're so large, as a matter of fact, that they can actually purchase, if they wanted to, they could actually purchase countries if they were for sale. So, this is all great, but the concern with this is that when companies are this big, you wonder what happens in terms of their political influence. Companies can really shift, economies. They can shift politics. they can shift, socio-economic things. When they have this kind of money and this much GDP, it you kind of just basically wonder, at what point do governments say, okay, maybe we need to try to bring in some kind of intervention on this. Now, with that said, there have been some additional, I should say, news stories in the market discussing how Congress has just passed a law to try to help with large companies trying to stifle competition. And this has been an argument that's been going on for many, many years. I don't know exactly if this is going to continue in terms of if politicians are actually going to be more aggressive with this. But I can tell you this, guys, when it comes to owning and owning the tech space, these top 5 companies are it. They own everything. As a matter of fact, I think they're like 10 or 12% of the entire S&P. Like they're just ginormous. And so this is it, guys. This is how these top tech companies make their money. You guys are taking a look and seeing exactly how they are in comparison to other countries. And I want to know what you all think. Do you think that companies should be this big? Do you think that they should be broken up, or do you think that we should just let them get bigger and bigger, and because it's just good for the economies, and that's just the way that the game flows? So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you leave a like and comment below. If you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. This is a financial education channel, and we are going to be making more videos to discuss very interesting topics such as this, anything dealing with tech or finances, to help keep you guys in the loop as to what's going on and to keep you better informed. So thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you later. Take care.